Hello everyone, dlaboski here. I am just finishing up a hike that was the busiest hike that I've ever experienced here in my favorite spot. There are so many people out today, and I thought I would find some space and some time to record this, but everywhere I sat down, literally 3 times I sat down to try to record this, and there was just tons of people walking by, hiking and biking and so on. So I thought I'd go off track a little bit here and find a place where I could record this in a little bit more private spot. So I'm practicing social distancing, and I can imagine many of you are as well. I'm posting this video. I initially thought about posting this video obviously to just students. My job as a high school, as a house principal at a high school, Pennridge High School in Bucks County. One of my jobs, obviously, as a principal is to handle day-to-day discipline, day-to-day attendance, a lot of interaction with students. And in the time that I've been an educator, we've seen a sharp rise. We all have seen a sharp rise in anxiety, depression. So I thought today I would just take some time to post this video as a way to extend some of the things that I've experienced with mindfulness, and hopefully pass on some information and some useful strategies as well that you can use in the next 2 weeks, because we're out of school for the next 2 weeks. And so with that said, I think it's important that we start to develop some good habits. And the students out there, obviously you can do that over the time period that we have. So as I thought about posting this, gearing it more towards students, I realized then that this could be for anybody. So any adults, senior, middle-aged, young, it doesn't matter who you are. So with that said, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to take you through some activities, and I'm just going to pose some questions. So if you would like to, at this moment, stop the video, go get a journal, go get a piece of paper, some sort of notebook, a pen or pencil, and after you pause it, come back to me, and then we'll get going. So take a moment to do that. So week 1. So we're going to start this week 1. So tomorrow I'll post this, which will be Monday, and the post will be on a few activities around the idea of anxiety, which a lot of people do suffer from, and many people feel that it interferes with their life, interferes with their daily activities. Some not as bad, it's more moderate, but sometimes it can be very severe. So these are just some activities and some strategies we can take you through. And I want to ask you some questions along the way. So that's some of your homework. And then the rest of the week, you're going to take this through on your own, this practice that we learned today. And then when I post tomorrow, we'll have some more information to add on there. So we want to form good habits. We talked about that. And so that's the beginning, and that's the reason why we're writing down a journal. You're taking notes, you're expressing your thoughts on paper. The more you do that, and the more you do it, have a daily practice, the more mindfulness will become a part of your life, and you'll start to see some benefits along the way. So first things I want to talk about is our physical symptoms. So with mindfulness, and using mindfulness to become aware of your physical symptoms when you're experiencing anxiety, your emotions, and your thoughts. So number 1, physical. Some examples, because I'll give you some examples, because later on you can use some of these perhaps for some of the work you'll do. Getting very hot or cold, tightness in your chest, butterflies in your stomach, and shakiness. So those are some examples of physical symptoms of anxiety. The thoughts. When anxiety takes hold, sometimes our thoughts, we start to notice our thoughts, and we start to have some thoughts, and those thoughts are around confusion, racing thoughts, thoughts that express self-doubt. So it's very important that we start to recognize not just the physical, but also our thoughts, our cognitive abilities during this time period when we have high anxiety, or we're in a situation that creates anxiety. And then finally, the third would be emotions, and emotions would be, panic, feeling something bad is going to happen, being embarrassed, being angry, perhaps being depressed, not meeting up to others, perhaps. So those are some of the symptoms. So the physical, thoughts, and emotions. And we'll come back to those when we go through the rest of the exercises. So mindful exploration. So how your symptoms affect your life. So one of the things that we have to begin to do is have to start to think about how these symptoms affect us when we have anxiety and when we're starting to experience anxiety. So once you identify those symptoms, physical, your thoughts and emotions, you can start to tune into them, to become aware of them when anxiety arises. And when it happens, you'll have a better understanding. You can label then that physical symptom, that emotion, that thought. And it becomes much easier then to practice mindfulness and to start to slow your mind down. So I want you today to take some time to consider the questions I'm going to pose to you. So question number 1. Do your anxiety symptoms limit your activities? If so, which activities do they limit? So I'll repeat that. Question 1. Do your anxiety symptoms limit your activities? If so, which ones? So you want to take some time to write that question down, respond to that question, and reflect. And it takes courage to do that. So I'm proud of you for taking this first step if you're still listening to the video at this time. So number 2, are there things you avoid doing, especially things you used to enjoy because of these symptoms? So repeat that. Question 2, are there things you avoid doing, especially things you used to enjoy because of these symptoms? So think back to symptoms that you get when your symptoms that you feel when you have anxiety. Those again are physical, emotional, and your thoughts and your cognition. So that's mindful exploration. So I want you to take a moment to do that, and you can do that now, pause it and come back, or you can wait till the end, whichever you prefer, but you can do that anytime. So we're going to do, based on your symptoms, based on the questions, based on the answers that you gave to those questions, we're going to do a quick mindful activity here. And this is the activity which will be the foundation of your work this week. So I really want you to start to think about how you might do some of this practice this week during your day. So this is called a mindful check-in. And basically it's a brief 3 to 5 minute practice that you can do preferably in a quiet place, in your house, in a park, in your car, wherever you can find some quiet time. It's 3 to 5 minutes, and you are just sitting. You can stand, you can lie down, your eyes can be open or closed, it doesn't matter. But all you're doing in this 3 to 5 minute brief check-in is you're checking in with those symptoms. You're checking in with how your body feels, your physical symptoms. You're checking in with your thoughts, your cognitive ability, how you think, and you're checking in with your emotions. And so during that 3 to 5 minutes time period, you're taking a pause out of your life, because mindfulness is all about taking that pause, calming ourselves, reflecting, and being present, being in the moment. And so that's important that you take this time this week to practice this mindful check-in. We check in with your symptoms, you check in with how you're feeling. And you can do this practice several times a day, and you can create a log entry and a diary for yourself. So you can do a mindful journal, and you can log the time, you can put the date down, and then check off all the times during the day that you actually did practice your mindful check-in. And then have a little space underneath each entry where you can reflect perhaps on how you did and how you think it went. The important thing here is that you're not judging yourself. You messed it up. No, you didn't mess it up. You just write down exactly how you felt and how you thought the mindful check-in went, and see what comes up. And as you're going through that mindful check-in, be breathing, of course, and if you're not breathing, then you're not going to be alive, but be breathing and take some time to reflect and to dial in internally. So you're going to knock out and block out all the external sounds as best you can, the external world and the time we live in, and start to tune in with your body and start to tune in with your mind and slow things down. So that'll be the first practice. So that'll be the mindful check-in, and that'll be this week. So I mentioned the mindful journaling. So I want you to take some time to write about what you noticed during your check-ins. This could be, again, your physical sensations, your thoughts, and your emotions. Do this with a sense of friendliness toward yourself. Take some time for self-care, and this is one of the steps where you want to start to think about how you go through your daily life. Are you aware? Are you being present? But how you feel, what comes up for you when you become anxious. And write from your heart. Write from your heart. And describe how the practice goes for you. So part of the exercise and part of the mindfulness is for you to start to explore. And so this next step is called mindful exploration. And in mindful exploration, all you're doing is you're coming back to that, to a comfortable place, sitting, lying down, standing. But as long as you're coming to a spot where you can be comfortable, no distractions, and you can start to tune into the internal piece rather than the external, and you can start to block some of that out and start to tune in and become mindful to your body and to your thoughts and emotions. So when you're ready, I want you to do the following. I want you to call to mind a recent experience of anxiety. Choose a situation where you felt moderate anxiety, not severe, but moderate anxiety. So question 1, in this experience that you've had, what bodily sensations came up for you? What physical sensations came up? Just like we talked about previously. What thoughts or thinking came up for you when you think back to that time where you had some moderate anxiety? It could have been getting in front of a class to give a presentation. I know that I get butterflies when I stand in front of people when I have to present. And some of you have seen that maybe in the class meetings, but it takes some time to start to become more and more comfortable with getting in front of people. So there's an example that you might use as a moderate anxiety. And then finally, what emotions or feelings come up for you from that experience that you had in the past. So this is a mindful exploration where you're taking some time and you're starting to reflect on an experience where you had some moderate anxiety, and now you can kind of tune in and think back a little bit about what your symptoms were physically, your thoughts and your emotions. So that's another practice as well for this week. And the last one is to consciously slow down. So mindfulness is going to begin to start helping you to do that, but you want to begin to consciously slow down and simplify things. Let things be. And you'll start to develop a calmness about yourself as you start to learn mindfulness and you practice it. And so that's the intention, and this is my intention of posting this video today. And so you have some work to do. You have a journal to get. Take some notes along the way. Do that mindful check-in several times a day if you can. If not, don't judge yourself. It's okay if you do it once. Do it once a day. But start somewhere and start to track it. Because what we measure, we can see growth. So we need to measure and track our growth along the way. And if you start to create a log entry and you start to record your thoughts, you record the times that you've done your mindful check-in, you'll start to see a pattern perhaps, and you'll start to make this a daily practice. So this video is the first one. You will do the mindful check-in throughout the week and record your thoughts about it, along with the mindful journaling. So the next video I'm going to post, we're going to get a little more in-depth to mindfulness. We'll do an in-depth introduction to mindfulness. We will look at some strategies, and particularly some strategies around how you can quiet the mind and begin to make this a daily practice for yourself. And then next video as well, I'll share some personal stories regarding my journey here with mindfulness, the mindfulness practice over the last few years. So thank you, everybody, and I hope you liked the post. Leave comments, be kind, take care of one another, take care of yourselves as well. As we go through this time period, things are going to be much better when we all get through this. So take care. Namaste.